Yes, students, this is a very important topic, that is language planning and lesson planning. Before I begin, you must know why language planning is necessary in a class of English. You know that when you are teaching English language, you should know how to use this language, how to plan this language in the classroom. Clear? So why do you think that there is an importance of language planning in the class? Because on one hand, there is teacher, and teacher is a creator of knowledge. Clear? He creates knowledge. So whatever you know as content, that is that is to be passed to the learner. Clear? So a teacher does the job of a bridge between knowledge and those people who want to have that knowledge or skill. Clear? So we have always to keep in our mind the target group. We know that we are teaching, but we must know for whom we are doing this exercise. Because the target audience, what is the language level of the target audience or the target learners, that is very important to be known. Clear? So as a teacher of English, you have to know the students to whom you are teaching, what is their age, to what class do they belong. Because every time a teacher has to make changes in his medium according to the need of the class. Clear? Suppose your language planning for a class of 5th will be very much different from the language planning for a class of BA students. Clear? You have to plan your language. But as a teacher, you have only one equipment. The greatest tool of a teacher is his language. How does he use the language? Clear? In a class of English, most of the time you might have noted that there is a mixed class. There may be some students who are very good at English. There may be some students who cannot speak English but they understand English. There may be students who may not follow everything in English. And a teacher has to modify his strategies of teaching. This is what we mean planning of language or language planning in a classroom. Clear? If you search this thing on net, you will find number of answers. Clear? Language planning is also concerned with those government policies where they decide what type of language will be official language and how, in what medium students will be taught at the level of schools or colleges or universities. It is a very different thing. Clear? You know about the language policies of the government and how there are number of uh, plannings regarding language. all over the country. You know that as a learner or as a teacher, there are some skills of learning. Clear? And we have to, as a teacher, we have to harness these skills of learning. First of all, you know that listening is a very important skill. Clear? And in a classroom where we are teaching in a particular, we are teaching a particular language, it may be English or it may be any other language. We have to take care of these skills of learning. What are they? First is the listening skill. We have to harness this skill among the students. They should learn how to listen and how to listen correctly. Clear? Second thing is we have to cultivate the habit of reading. All the strategies of a teacher are focused to cultivate these learning skills. First is listening skill, second is reading skill, and third one is writing skill. You might have heard about them. And all these skills, what they do? They develop a kind of understanding, a comprehension in the minds of the learners. So, whatever language a teacher is using, it must promote to all these skills. Clear? Otherwise, what will happen? A learner, if he doesn't listen properly, if he doesn't read properly, if he doesn't write properly, he will not understand the things properly. And the purpose of the teacher will be defeated. Clear? When you talk about listening, there is a famous proverb that memory is the true art of attention. If you pay proper attention to something, you will memorize it, you will learn it. Clear? So, we have to take that type of medium when we are making a choice of language in a class that should promote all these skills. Clear? They should listen properly, they should read properly, they should write properly, and above all, they should understand what is being taught to them. You know that teacher is just a mediator. He negotiates between existing knowledge and the learner. Clear? There are two banks of a river. Clear? And teacher is like one who makes these two banks meet. On one side of the bank, we have knowledge. There are books, study material, all those things which are already there. Clear? And on the other hand, there is the learner. Learner may have access to those study material, but the education does not become complete without a teacher. A teacher's job is to use that study material in such a way that knowledge should be transmitted to the learner. Clear? It is not a one-way traffic that a teacher is speaking and the listener is listening, learner is listening. Clear? The success of the teacher is, especially of a language teacher, that he has to involve whole of the class. Clear? There may be different students, their calibers will be different, their previous knowledge may be different. Clear? Their language competency may be different. So a teacher has to adopt such kind of methodology of teaching by which he can help each and every student in the class and achieve its objectives. So language is a tool, clear? And it is the strongest tool in the hands of a teacher. Clear? Language is a medium, all of you know. Here I would like to tell you about theories of language also, how language is acquired. Clear? A teacher is also a learner. Clear? And he has to understand that every learner acquires a language. Clear? There may be a language which is the mother tongue, which is known as L1. And there is another language which is not his mother tongue, which he learns. For example, your mother tongue is Hindi. That is L1. And what you are trying to acquire, there is another language that is English. Clear? So English is L2. There are many concepts. You might have heard about how language is acquired. There is one concept which is known as behavioral theory. What is this theory of behavior? It says that we learn language by the social contact. Yeah? When we move into the society, when we live with our parents or with our friends or with our members of the society, we learn or pick up a language. This is one theory. There is another theory which has been given by Noam Chomsky. Noam Chomsky says that we have capability of learning language right from our birth. Even when we do not go to schools or colleges or universities to learn a language, even when we come to the company of the society, we have an inbuilt system of learning a particular language. Clear? He believes that the best age of learning a language is right from infancy to adolescence. Clear? In this period, a child can pick up a language very easily. When we grow in years, when we become adult or when we become older, this faculty is not so sharp as it is in childhood. Clear? So you may agree with behavioral theory or with the theory of Noam Chomsky, where he talks of universal grammar or generative grammar or transformational grammar. He believes that by picking up particular words or particular sentences, a child, right, even before his birth, he picks up a language and he learns, he develops that language throughout his life. Clear? So he is one linguist. Chomsky has been called father of modern linguistics. He says that we are born with a set of language. Clear? And he says that through lexicons, we pick up a language. Clear? So when we are in a classroom, there are students who know their native language and there are students who have picked up a particular language. Clear? They learn a language by moving in the society and they also have a sense of a language right from their birth, according to Chomsky. Clear? So when we are using language as a tool in our classroom. Clear? What are the things? What are the qualities of language which our language must have? Clear? We know that without language, a teacher cannot move because he has, if a teacher is not allowed to speak in the class, or if a teacher is not allowed to use any kind of language in a class, he cannot teach. So he can teach only through language. So I told you that he is a negotiator between existing knowledge and learner. On one side, there is the learner, and on the other side, there is knowledge. He is all the time engaged in a continuous process of transforming knowledge into some modules, or he is using that knowledge in such a way that it becomes useful for the students. Clear? So what are the qualities of language? Clear? You sometimes a teacher is talking in L1. Clear? We have very less problems there because suppose I have to teach you in Hindi, most of the things will become very easy for you because you have competency of a particular kind of language right from your birth, right from your childhood. It is that language which is in your blood. But when a teacher is teaching L2, means it is not your mother tongue. English is not your mother tongue. Clear? So when we are teaching those learners whose mother tongue is not English, clear? Then our responsibility becomes greater. There are some qualities of language. What kind of features or what kind of qualities the language must have? So first quality of a language is simplicity. Clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What does it mean? That a teacher, when he is teaching L2, when he is teaching English, clear? You may be teaching
Yes, sir.
to a student of nursery class, you may be teaching a student of 5th class or 10th class or 12th class, or it may be that you are teaching undergraduates. Clear? I have already told you that you have to modulate your strategies. You have to make language planning for each class. Clear? Your language planning will change as the category of the class changes. Clear? Suppose you have to teach small children. There you cannot use very difficult words. Clear? Suppose you are teaching students of 10th class or 12th class. Clear? You have to make a concept, a very difficult concept. Sometimes you can use their mother tongue also. So this is language planning in the class. Clear? What kind of language has to be used? Because you have to achieve certain targets as a teacher. You have some objectives in the class. Suppose you have to talk about tenses. Clear? So your purpose is that you have to use such kind of language in the class that you can make what are the tenses, how they are used, how they can be, uh, how the exercises can be made. And if by the end of the class, if you are not able to make your students learn the use of tenses, you will be a failure in the class. So language planning is very important. So the first quality of language is simplicity. But what does this mean? It means that a teacher has to use simple words, simple sentences, clear? Not He must not make a parade of knowledge. Teacher,
It should not be very complicated, sir.
yes, he should not use very compound and very complex sentences. Clear? If
Yes, sir.
the idea is clear to you, whatever you say, that will be clear. So simplicity generates clarity. Clear? All these
Yes.
qualities are interlinked. If you are simple, you will be clear. And clarity is the second virtue of language. If I say something, and if you understand it 100%, it means it is simple and clear. Language is coding. You code some idea into a particular type of sentence or in a particular type of language, and that is decoded by your learners. If this process is going on successfully, it means you have simplicity as well as clarity. How this clarity will be generated? How can you make your things clear? You can make your things clear by two things. First, simplicity. And second quality is clarity. How the clarity will be generated? Clarity will be generated by if you give examples. You say something and you give some examples. Clear? And those examples should come from practical life, from day-to-day life, so that the learners may easily relate with those examples. Clear? And second thing is, give them some exercises. Suppose if you are teaching them present indefinite tense, you can give one example and you can ask your students to give other examples. Clear? So in this way, what will happen? A clarity of the topic will be achieved. So the third thing is conciseness. What is this conciseness? Means whatever you have to say, you say it within a limit of words. Clear? You have to structure your lecture or your lesson in such a way that it should be neither too short nor too long. Clear? Learners cannot sustain their attention or their attentiveness for a very long time. Clear? So, your language, whatever type of language you are using in the classroom, it should be concise. And next point is correctness. Clear? What does it mean? What you teach should be simple, it should be clear, it should be concise, and it should be correct. What does this correctness means? This is concerned with your pronunciation and grammar. Clear? You have to take care that right kind of pronunciation should be used. And even the sentences which you are using, they should be grammatically correct. Clear? So the language which you are using when you have to plan your language in the class, you have to take care of your simplicity. Whatever the content is, it should be simple, it should be clear, it should be concise, it should be correct, and it should be authentic. What does this authenticity means? Authenticity, whatever you understood well, whatever you understand well, that is authentic. If it is not generating an understanding among the students, among the learners, it means that you are not authentic. Clear? Authenticity is the result of all these qualities. If you are clear, if you are concise, if you are using language correctly, what it amount to? It will amount to authenticity. Students will believe you. They will take for granted whatever you have taught them. Clear? Otherwise, if you are not clear, if the message is very long, if the language is incorrect, what will happen? Students will not believe or comprehend whatever you have tried to give them. Clear? So, as far as language planning is concerned, that which serves the best is the best. Clear? There cannot be some set rules that you should do this and you should not do this. There are so many do's and don'ts. But when you enter in a class, you have to think what kind of language. No? Only the situation of the class, only the construction of the class will decide what kind of language you have to adopt. And any theory or any rules cannot be universal. That which serves the best is the best. Clear? If you are able to convey what you want to convey in a very interesting manner, in a very enriching manner, if you are enlightening your students or learners, it means you are authentic. It means you are successful as a teacher. It means that you have done language planning successfully. Now, how the language in the class can be planned? This is the question. First of all, you must have the statement. Clear? What you have to tell. Clear? You must be very much sure about what you have to convey. Clear? If your content is not clear, if you do not have content, if you do not have the subject material, you will not be able to influence or impress your learners. All your language planning will be defeated. All your exercise of language planning will go in vain. So the first of all, you must know about your content. Your content must be ready. Clear? Second thing is that you must have your examples also ready. Clear? For which thing, for what thing, which examples will be given? You must have some ready examples with you so that you can give examples and make things simple and clear. Third thing is, which is very important for your language planning, is also have a set of questions which he will use in the class. And after that, he should give some space for the solutions. There must be some question session clear from the students, which should be answered by the teacher. Clear? That is like a feedback for a teacher, because whatever teacher, the kind of language a teacher has used in the classroom, that will decide how much has been learned by the students. And through this exercise, through this feedback, he will come to know how much he has been successful. And after all this, at last, what he should do? He should sum up. He should recapitulate whole of the topic within minutes. He must tell what he wanted to say. Clear? So that those students who have joined late or those who were inattentive at some places, they can also catch up those points which were discussed in the class. So in this way, a teacher of English can manage his language in the class. I have told you different ways how, what type, what qualities must be there in the use of language of a teacher. Clear? Otherwise, if he is not making a good planning of his language, he will not be able to achieve his targets in the class. Now, I am just moving to another topic which is just related with this, that is lesson planning. You know that a teacher of any standard, whether he is teaching very small students, nursery students, or primary class students, or intermediate students, or graduates or postgraduate students, a teacher has to make a plan of his lesson. This is very important. Clear? In lower classes, this lesson planning is first and foremost part of teachers' training. But at higher level, you do not see that teachers come up with a lesson plan. But it does not mean that they do not have a lesson plan. Clear? That lesson plan may be physically displayed, or it may be in the mind of the teacher. Clear? But there is a lesson plan. But the first question that arises in the mind of anybody, why do we need a plan? Can we not go to the class without making a lesson plan? Or what will happen if we go to a class without making a lesson plan? Here we are only talking about a teacher of English, a teacher of English language. Okay? So why a lesson plan is necessary? First thing is that it creates a logical sequence. What will be taken up first and how the things of the content of his class will be arranged in a logical sequence. Suppose if a teacher does not make a lesson plan, he comes up and he starts talking about his conclusions. And at last he gives the introduction to the topic. That will be quite disturbing to the students, to the learners. So this is very necessary. A making of a lesson plan gives an opportunity to a teacher to create a logical sequence. Then second point is that it is a working document. Clear? When you have your strategies in black and white, in the form of a document, there are very less chances of deviating. Generally, you might have seen so many teachers that they come to the class, they do not have any notes, and they talk about so many things, they are unconnected, and sometimes they do not help the students. So, lesson plan is a working document. It is a blueprint on which a teacher knows how he has to begin and in what steps he has to take up the things. And it is a document which he can keep with him for future reference also. Clear? If a teacher doesn't have a lesson plan, if in future somebody asks him what he has taught, he will have no document. But if he has a lesson plan, in a lesson plan it is always mentioned which class was taken, on which topic it was taken, when it was taken, how many students were there. So it is a working document on which a teacher can work very smoothly. Third thing is that it forms a record of what has been taught. The point I have already explained. Clear? So whatever has been taught by the teacher, it serves as a record for the future also. Clear? As a teacher, if you make a lesson plan and go by that lesson plan once, that lesson plan works for years to come. By taking that lesson plan, you can go to class anytime in future and you will not have to work afresh. So this is also a record of what had been taught. Next point is that it can be used for covering. Clear? You have a very systematic record, what you have covered up and what you have to cover up. Clear? Teachers generally forget what topics they have taken or how much they have taken, how many parts of a particular topic or particular issue they have taken. So lesson plan gives them this knowledge that which part has been taken. Clear? So it helps them in a very systematic type of teaching. Clear? So it is necessary for a logical sequence. It is a working document. It forms a record of what has been taught, and it can be used for covering a part of syllabus. Clear? You can make your lesson plans for whole of the semester or for whole of the year, and you can divide whole of your syllabus in different lessons. Clear? This will help you to cover up your course in a stipulated time. So making a lesson plan is a practical activity. In a class of B.Ed or education, teachers are trained to make a lesson plan. Clear? Whether you are teaching a class of 1st standard or 10th standard or 12th standard or a class of undergraduates, lesson plans are always very useful for a teacher. Whether you are teaching English or any other subject of the world, clear? Lesson plans may have some variations according to the need of the teacher or according to the need of the students. Clear? There may be some variations in the format of the lesson plan, but basic things are the same. So how do we begin? I think you have paper and pen ready. So when I tell you, you have to write also. Clear? First of all, you will write lesson plan for class this and this. Clear? Suppose you write lesson plan for class 10th English. Clear? Then just below it, on the left side above, you will write name of the teacher. You will write your own name. Just ahead of it, you will write date and time. Against it, you will write class level. That is your class. It is 10th class, section A, B, C, whatever you may like, you can write. Clear? And just below it in the second line, you will write, just below the teacher's name, you will write room number. Then you will write, just before it, you will write student's number. Generally, in a nursery class or in a 10th class, there is a section of 40 students or 60 students. You can write 60 or 40, whatever you like. Clear? This is just the upper part of your lesson plan. Clear? Then the second part is you write context. This context is subject. Clear? Subject is English and context is use of tense. For example, there can be anything. Clear? Then just ahead of it you will write focus. Suppose you are teaching 10th class of English, and you are teaching use of tense. Then what is your focus? In focus, which is the next heading, you will write use of verbs. Your focus will be how verbs are used. Suppose when you use present indefinite tense, what type of verbs are used? When you are using present continuous tense, you use different kind of set of verbs. Clear? In the same way. So in focus, you will write use of verbs. Then third point is teaching aids. These are those things which are necessary for your teaching. If you go to a classroom, what are the things which you need? You need a blackboard, or you need worksheets, you need audio video aids, you need chalks, duster. They are all teaching aids, because without them you cannot teach. Clear? So you will write all your teaching aids. Suppose you go to a class of 10th where you have to talk about use of tenses. Clear? You cannot teach them if you do not have a blackboard, you do not have chalks and duster, or if there is a smart room, you must have pointer, you must have a whiteboard. So all these are teaching aids which you need. You need a projector. It depends on your teaching aids, depend on what you are going to teach. Suppose if you are going to teach geography, clear? You need a globes. So teaching aids may also vary according to your subject, according to your context on the subject. Clear? Then the next point, which is very important, you will divide now page into in halves. Clear? On right side, you will write learners' objectives, and on the other side, you will write teachers' aims. In learners' objectives, you will write what are your objectives for the learners? Objective of learners is to use right verbs when they are using tenses. Clear? This is the objective. This is that skill which you want to inculcate in them. In teacher's aim, you have to write what is your aim when you are taking a class. Your aim is to improve board work, elicitation techniques. As a teacher, your job is to elicit more and more knowledge from the students. Clear? On one hand, you are talking about something, and on the other hand, you have to elicit correct answers from the students. So these are your aims. Ultimate aim is to make your students expert in using tenses correctly, using verbs in the tenses correctly. So 1, 2, 3, 4, you can write your what are the expectations, what are the objectives of the learners, what they want, and what you want. Clear? There are certain expectations of the learners. They will be written in learners' objectives. And in teacher's aim, you will write what you expect from the learners. Clear? Then we come to next point. That is the next heading in your lesson plan. That is anticipated problems. Here you will write those problems which students may face. If you have details of such anticipated problems, What may be the problems? Students will make confusion between present indefinite tense and present perfect tense. They will have confusion in the use of present past indefinite and present perfect tense. Okay? So in this way, beforehand you will anticipate what problems students may raise. Okay? If you have details of such anticipated problems of students beforehand, you will be able to satisfy your students in the class. And on the other side, you will write anticipated for teachers. Clear? They are what may be anticipated problems for students and what may be anticipated problems for teachers. Teachers may have different problems. Clear? Because the class is a mix of different types of students. One student will understand one thing in one go, but other students will need more and more illustration, more and more examples. So you will have to sort out expected problems from the students as well as of your own problems. What problems you may also face in the class. If you have already noted them down, you will be able to come across or to overcome those problems during your class. You must note down certain questions which students may ask you. Sometimes teachers do not go prepared for those expected questions which students may ask. So you can note down certain questions which students may ask. Students may ask, sir, why are you using this tense here? Why are you using this continuous tense here? Clear? They may ask you what is the difference between present perfect tense and present perfect continuous tense. Clear? So such problems, such questions, you must take account of them beforehand. In your lesson plan itself, those questions or those problems should be there. Clear? So what problems may arise for the students and what problems may arise for you as a teacher? You should have details of both of them in your lesson plan. Then comes the last part, that is the solution. Clear? When you have already anticipated problems of the students, you will solve them one by one. And if you have already anticipated problems of your own, you will also solve them. Clear? So this part, whatever you have taught, now in this part of solution, you will design some drilling or some exercises, some kind of homework, some kind of suggested reading. Clear? These are all the things by which you will feel the pulse of the class. Clear? You have taught everything. You have also solved their questions, their problems, but still you may not be sure whether they have learned the things or not. Clear? So this is the part which is known as feedback. What you do? Suppose you are teaching pronunciation. You have made all the things clear, and now you write some words and you ask them to pronounce them. Clear? Some students are asked to pronounce them. This is called drilling. Clear? You put some questions, you ask students to do them. Clear? And when they do it, you come to know where have they not understood you. Clear? You get an opportunity to again explain those things. Clear? So you can give them some homework also. For example, you in your classroom, you gave them drilling for pronunciation for 5 words. Now you can also give them 5 more words for homework. Yet they will go to home, they will look up the dictionary, they will pronounce it, and they will come to the class with the correct pronunciation of those words. And you can also suggest them some books. Clear? You can give them some notes which they can read at home. You can suggest them some books. Clear? Which they will read. So all this should be ready-made in your lesson plan. What type of drill you will give them, what homework you will give them, or what books you will suggest them, they should all be mentioned in your lesson plan. So a good lesson plan is foolproof. It is a blueprint for a teacher. And if you follow all the steps of a lesson plan one by one and take care of all the precautions, all the things there, you will surely be able to transmit knowledge in a better manner. Clear? You can make charts. Those charts should be well prepared. On the screen, you can show them. There are 4 phases which should be very much marked in your lesson plan. What are those 4 procedures? First is the procedure of initiation. What is this initiation? When you enter in a class, you have your lesson plan, but you cannot jump to the topic. Okay? So in this phase of initiation, what you do? You just probe the knowledge of the learners. It may be that you may be going to this class for the first time. You do not know what is the level of these students, what they have already studied. What is some of the students may be very good, others may be dull. So, in order to take a feel of the class, in order to feel the pulse of the class, the first phase of your class should be of checking previous knowledge. You can put some questions in the class regarding that topic which you are going to initiate. And by this initiation, you will have feel of the class. This is the first phase. This is also easing the class. Do not just go to the class like a bomb and blast there. You have to go to the class in a very gentlemanly manner and make your students or learners feel comfortable. They should not feel that you are imposing anything on them. You have to tell them about the importance of that topic, and you have to test their knowledge also, what previous knowledge they have. This period is known as initiation. Then second period is the period of engagement. It is here where you come to the main point, come to the subject of your class. Clear? It is the core part, clear, which you have to give to them. And then there, you have to give them some, after teaching everything, you should give them 5 minutes rest or 10 minutes rest. This is a time of interaction that after engaging the class, the third part is the part of, it is timing. Clear? You can give 5 minutes to them to think about it, to talk about it among them. Clear? And then there should be some interaction in the class. Clear? A good class is divided of these 4 parts. What are those 4 parts? First part is the part of introductory part, initiation, which is known as initiation. This is you just catch hold the hands of your students and take them to the topic. Clear? Then you discuss the topic, and after that you give 5 minutes to them in which they themselves understand the things. Some pause should be given so that they can understand the thing, grasp the thing. If you take 5 periods in continuity, it will of no use. After 40 minutes or after 50 minutes, you must give some pause. Okay? And then you can again come to another part or another topic. Then the last thing is when you are there, which is the last part and perhaps the most important part of your teaching. That is interaction. Clear? In your lesson plan, you already have what you will do. Clear? What type of drilling will be there, which homework will be given, what will be the suggested reading. Here, there can be different kind of interaction. There can be interaction of student with the teacher. A particular student is interacting with the teacher, or a teacher is interacting with a group of students, or some students are teaching, or the whole of the class is interacting with the teacher. So there can be interaction of different kinds, one-to-one, one group to the teacher, or of whole of the class to the teacher, or there may be a group discussion among the students. This is the most important part of your lesson planning. So I think that if you design your lesson plan keeping all these points in your mind, your lesson plan will be one of the best lesson plans in the world. Clear? Thank you very much for bearing with me and listening to me so attentively.